Because we understand how and why we manage the expansion and contraction of Celect siding, we have multiple options for going up roof lines as well as around gable vents. We'll begin with the most common method, using furring strips and trim boards much in the same way as around windows and doors. First, it's always a good idea to install field form flashing along the roof line. Make sure that the flashing is at least 4 inches up the wall. Notice that in this illustration there's also kick-out flashing. This is only one method for managing the water here. Next, install a 1x2 furring strip along the roof line. Hold it off the roof by at least a ½ inch. Now you're ready to install the siding using the same methods and guidelines as with the rest of the wall, keeping a 1-inch setback from the furring strips if the course is more than one panel or 12 foot in length, or a ½ inch if it's less. Of course, the trim will go on after the panels and cover the furring and the gaps. It's important to remember that this is the method that you'll use if the courses are over 30 feet in length. If your courses up the roof line are less than 30 feet, you may want to consider this method. As with the first one, install flashing along the roof line. With this method, however, the next step is to install the siding panels. Keep them 1/2 inch off the roof. Pin each course, not each panel, at the roof line by placing a fastener in both ends of the slot closest to the roof. This will force all the expansion and contraction to the other end and keep this end in place. Keep in mind that because of this, it's critical that you leave the necessary 1-inch gap at the other end. Remember, this method can only be used if the courses are no longer than 30 feet in length. This same idea or method can be used on other areas of the installation as well, where the courses are less than 30 feet in length, such as around gable vents. Install the 1x2 furring strips along the soffit area. Now install the siding, staying away from the vent by a ½ inch, and leaving the 1-inch necessary gap between the end of the panel and the furring strip. Now pin the end of the panel closest to the vent by placing a fastener in both ends of the slot. All the movement will happen on the other end and be hidden by the trim boards. Again, we could pin a course within a ½ inch of a vent or an obstacle, providing 3 things. First, there can only be one obstacle in the course. Secondly, we must have at least 1 inch of lateral movement for the panel to expand and contract. Now this space will eventually be covered up by a trim board. And lastly, the course can't be any longer than 30 feet from the pin.